It is 3 o'clock. This is the Fargo Planning Commission. Today is Thursday, September 5th, 2024. Order of agenda today, we do have some changes. So item 1A and B and item D1, Northdale First Edition Plat Zone Change and Annexation are continued to October 1st, 2024. There'll be no presentation by staff and no action taken by commission today. With that, I will, any comments, suggestions on the order agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to approve the order of the agenda.
Approving by Holz. Second?
Second.
Second by Schmidt. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign?
Aye.
Oh, yeah. We have a phone call today. Cly is on the phone. All opposed, same sign? Okay. Item B is minutes of the regular meeting of August 6, 2024. Those minutes are in your packet. Everyone had a chance to look at the minutes, changes, discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Approved by Shuey,
Second.
second by Mose. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed,
Aye.
all opposed, same sign. All righty. Next is public hearing items. First item, 1A and 1B is continued, so item 2A will be presented by Donald Crest. Hearing on application requesting a zoning change from AG to agriculture, limited industrial, NAG, or agricultural on the proposed Grafstrom First Edition.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Donald Crest of the Department of Planning and Development. Our first item here, as the chair has stated, is the Grafstrom First Edition, a major subdivision and zone change. This property is located here on the corner of 57th Street North and 19th Avenue North. You may remember fairly recently you platted, this is Veterans Industrial Park subdivision around here. This is would complete the platting of this property here. They're separate projects, but in case you're wondering why this might look familiar to you here. The property is currently zoned ag, agricultural. The proposed zoning is limited and agricultural. We'll explain that in a moment here as to why some of that is remaining ag. Here's some shots of the property here from yesterday. This is facing down 57th Street here. 19th Avenue is in the distance. This is an existing access road to one of the properties. Here we're looking west along 19th Avenue. There's some existing ag buildings here. Just wait a moment until Commissioner Rosenberg is seated here.
Hey, it's not me for once.
I already heard this. And then here's a shot of two existing driveways on 19th Avenue and some more of those existing buildings. Zoning here is again agricultural. The plat looks like this. So there are 13 lots here and a private drive. So this is not a public street. This is a private drive. Each property owns a part of the private drive. As you see here, that's why the property line goes down the middle here. Lots 1 and 13 will remain agricultural, and the rest of these lots here, where's my cursor? Lots 2 through 12 will be zoned limited industrial, which goes along with the land use designations for this area here. I'd like to update the map that's in your packet, the zoning map. There was a reconfiguration of lot lines since that map was made. So again, these two lots are agricultural, the rest of these are limited industrial. The area that's on the map in your packet is the same, but the lots got redivided here from 8 lots to a larger number here. So again, these two will remain ag. And these lots are existing farmsteads. This one is owned by Mr. and Mrs. Harwood, and they are just going to remain there. Those lots are smaller than the minimum 10-acre lot size of agriculturally zoned lots prescribed by the Land Development Code, but they're existing properties, and they're just going to remain where they are until they get redeveloped. And working with the applicants, it was more effective to have them included in this plat, even though they're below the minimum size, as lots in this plat, which facilitated the access a lot better and just accounted for them, so not just unplatted properties kind of sitting out there. So they are included in this plat. And let's see. You received a laydown item, plat that is this one here. The only difference between that and the one in your packet is there's a proposed fire truck turnaround shown in here. Since this dead ends into this adjacent property, there need to be a fire truck turnaround added in there, which was reviewed and approved by our fire marshal as sufficient for this location. And again, taking a look at that zoning map there, the plat also includes dedications of right-of-way for 19th Avenue here and 57th Street to complete those, to complete 19th Avenue, and then the east side of 57th Street. That's what makes it a major subdivision. The applicants, Hans Grafstrom, property owner, and Chris Mack of Christensen Companies are with us this afternoon and may wish to address the commission. The recommended motion is stated in your staff report and shown on the screen. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Donald. Commissioners, any questions for Donald? No questions. We'll go ahead and invite the applicant up. Sure. Any questions for the applicant at all? Seeing none? Let's go ahead and open up the public hearing. Anybody have anything they wish to say about this agenda item? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners, what are your wishes?
Move to approve the staff findings.
Second.
Commissioner Shui motioned, Commissioner Rosenberg second. Any discussion on the motion, commissioners? No discussion. Go ahead and take the roll.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Cecil,
Aye.
Mose,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Glei,
Aye.
Shui,
Aye.
Haas,
Aye.
Tassa.
Aye. Motion approved. Moving right along to item number 3, hearing on application requesting a plat of Timber Parkway 11th Edition. Donald Kress.
Thank you, ma'am. This item is Timber Parkway 11th Edition. It's located here on the north side of 52nd, south and west of Timber Parkway South. A lot of development going on here. As you know, this is the 11th edition. This property has been before your commission many times. Here is the Cashwise up here as a locator and the golf place here. The proposal here is just take this lot, zoned general commercial, which will not change, and divide it into 2 lots. Here are some photos here from yesterday, just looking across the lot from a couple of different directions. There's the Plaza Azteca. This is 52nd Street. Here's Jack's Way. There is currently no development on this lot, but there is one proposed here. The zoning here is general commercial with a conditional overlay. That will not change. That will carry through to this plat. Really just a lot division here. Here's the plat, one larger lot and one smaller lot. There's an existing access easement here and an access and utility easement here that remain. Again, pretty straightforward. The project representative, Mr. Blake Trenbeath, is with us this afternoon and may wish to address the commission. Staff's recommendation is stated in your staff report and shown on the screen for Timber Parkway 11th edition. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you, commissioners.
Thanks, Donald. Commissioners, any question for Donald? Applicant? Do we have questions for the applicant, commissioners? You're good?
I have nothing further than happy to answer questions.
Sounds good. Alrighty, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Anybody have anything on item number 3? We'll go ahead and close public hearing. Commissioners?
I'll make a motion to approve the findings of the staff report.
Commissioner Holtz. Motions?
Second.
Second, we'll give it to Commissioner Schmidt. How about? Any discussion on the motion? No discussion? Go ahead and take the roll.
Gly,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Hess,
Aye.
Mose,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Cecil,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Tassett.
Aye. Motion passes. Number 4 is hearing on an application requesting a zone change from MR3 to multi-dwelling residential, the Pines and the District Second Edition.
Thank you, ma'am. This one has a rather lengthy title here because the properties involved are in two separate subdivisions that are adjacent to each other. There's the big piece and the little piece here. So one of these is in the Pines of the District Edition. That's the little one. And the Pines of the District Second Edition is the larger one. And what is proposed here is a zone change. I'm going to skip the site photos for a moment and go directly to the zoning map. So the larger property here currently has two zones on it. The orangish color there is MR3 multi-dwelling residential, and the pinkish is LC limited commercial, and there's also a conditional overlay associated with that property. This property was once two lots that was for the right-of-way for 44th Street, separated the two lots. As was explained in your staff report, that was vacated, and these were replatted into a single lot, but the zoning was not changed at that time, so the lot has two zones on it. This is both lots are owned by Bethany on 42nd. They are proposing a future development there, nothing, right this minute, but coming up here. And just to get all this, the goal is to get this lot all into a single zone. And after discussion with staff, they felt the MR3 zone would be the appropriate one. So we're just basically cleaning this up so it's all one zone here. As we have been doing, as your commission has seen several times here, when we have a multi-dwelling residential zone, especially along an arterial here, and as you see 45th Street, here is an arterial, 45th Street. We have a conditional overlay that includes some site design and some building design standards and requirements for pedestrian connectivity, which we have attached to this one. And again, that will just apply when the development starts, whenever that would be. That's just an additional set of regulations there. They also own this lot, this MR3 zone lot, which that will also apply to. And then we'll go back to the beginning here. Should have started with this. This lot is located on 45th Street South, south of 52nd Avenue South. And here are some photos of that here, just looking diagonally across. It's a large open lot here. And here you see the back sides of the houses that face 43rd. There are 7 individual residences there. And then here we're at the opposite corner. So here we're down the street looking at those backs of those lots. And then here is that MR3 zone lot that Bethany also owns. This house is actually across the street. So you're looking through a blank space here that's next to these residences. And then here we're looking down 43rd Street. This is the front of these residences. This 43rd just dead ends here at the end of the street. If you zoomed in, you could see the crossbuck down there that shows that. And then that was, as we explained, the zone change. And so that's what we're doing here, is we're really just cleaning up the zoning on this lot so it is one consistent zone. Again, it could have gone either way probably, but MR3 seemed the better zone. We have had, as noted in your staff report, we did have some questions from neighbors about the density and what the development would be like. Mr. Sean Stuhaug, who is the CEO of Bethany on 42nd, met with staff and I believe also did talk to one of the nearby residents about the proposed development there. And so some of those folks may be here to address the commission today. Again, the conditional overlay is included in your packet, and our recommendation is stated in the staff report and shown on the screen for the zone change for those two project properties in the Pines of the District Second Edition. That concludes staff's presentation. Thank you, commissioners.
Thanks, Donald. Commissioners, any questions for Donald?
Yeah, I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Would this project in the future come back to this committee, or?
If it is within the parameters of the MR3 zone, the building permits do not, Commissioner.
Okay.
And I believe, well, yeah, that's the answer. And project representative, Mr. Stuhow, could tell you more about what they might have in mind for that. But nothing has been submitted at this time, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Commissioner Rosenberg.
Donald, there's no road being proposed south of here?
So let's talk about that. So this is kind of a complex area here. So here's 45th Street. The blue line is the city limit line. So this part here, this part is actually not in the city. It's not been annexed to the city. When we did this annexation for the school, or the park district facility here, we annexed this area, but these parts are outside of it. So this is this little island of unannexed property here. There's two of them. There is at this time no road proposed here. We are conscious of our spacing requirements on the arterial streets. So 56th is here. We try to keep the eighth of a mile spacing. And Commissioner, if I may, if Mr. Borboom can maybe talk about a little bit spacing a little more on that one there, our Assistant City Engineer.
Sure. So there is, like Donald said, there's no road contemplated immediately on the south side of this property today. Next one we envision would be another 8th mile to the south. This property could have a connection to 45th Street, but long-term, as traffic volumes increase on 45th Street, it would likely turn into a limited access, so a right-in, right-out condition only on the 45th Street on the south side of their property. We do envision 43rd Street to continue to the south, though, as well, whenever that quarter section to the south develops. 43rd Street will continue down to 64th Avenue.
Down to 64th?
Correct.
Okay. So they'll have access that way. And is 45th as a main arterial have restrictions on?
Yes, that's the 8th mile access restrictions. So the only access this property would have is either off of 56th Avenue at that point, or on the immediately southern boundary of that property, they would have a driveway access available, but long-term, that would become a limited access, that right-in, right-out condition. So not a full access. They won't be able to take a left turn out of the property.
On 54th Avenue then, is that going to be a restricted access to 45th then too?
54th would be, I would have to look into that a little bit. I believe so, yes.
Because my only concern is that you've got this, we've got this marked as MR3 all the way around up there. So we go from MR3 over Bethany as the north. We have MR3, right? On,
Yes, sir. This one's MR3 and this one's LC, and then this one's MR3 as well.
it's a lot of housing there for no access.
54th, excuse me, would be a full access point.
Okay,
That's at the quarter mile.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question regarding access. Would the developer be able to have an access point off of 43rd on that little square there?
Yes, they would. And I just want to bring something up here too that might be in the commissioner's minds. As you see here, this is, as we showed in the photographs here too, that this backs up against 7 single dwelling zone residences. Our land development code prescribes the residential protection standards, which talks about development of MR3 in relation to SR zone properties and their requirements there for buffering, landscape buffering, height maximums a certain distance back, and those apply automatically. They don't need a separate CO. Those just apply automatically to that development. And again, nothing happens with that until the development starts, but those will be, again, meant to separate the developments from that. And that would also apply to anything that was on this lot in relation to those houses too.
So I guess my only concern would be having a main access point where everyone has to drive through that neighborhood to get to the New Bethany homes. And stuff.
Well, they would be able to take access off 56 there too. And again, the project representative might be able to talk more about what he has in mind for that site.
Go ahead.
Donald, I've got a question on the conditional overlay.
Yes, sir.
Item number 8 on there, reads minimum of 40% of the footprint of the primary building shall be used for parking. So is that saying that the primary building on there has to have either underground or enclosed parking?
The intent would be to have underground or enclosed parking, yes, sir.
Okay, is that typical that we write into the conditional overlay?
We have been working on doing that. I don't know, Mr. Williams, do you have any more comment on that there?
It seems like with the development trends in the last 5-10 years, it usually already exists with parking underneath the building or underground of that same building. I think the intent is to try eliminating the accessory detached structures in the parking lot because that kind of creates a parking issue amongst the neighborhoods because a lot of times those accessory detached structures aren't really used for parking vehicles, more storing things. And we have used that overlay on other zoning districts similar to this.
Any other questions for Donald, commissioners? Okay, I'll go ahead and invite the applicant up. Just please state your name for the record.
Commissioners, I'm Sean Stewart. I'm CEO of Bethany Retirement Living in Fargo. We are just in the very preliminary stages of looking at this lot right now, so we had to get the zoning figured out before we can start plotting out what we want on there. To answer just a few of your questions, when we bought this lot from Goldmark, when this was all a field, we weren't sure what was going to happen to the south of us, so we're still anxious about that. So that's why we bought that residential lot. Our hope is to take the majority of our traffic and the parking for the general public through 44th. So we would line up our, this is just a vision, line up our parking with 44th. So you'd come right into Bethany's parking lot. We still would need access to the backside because we don't want to develop our whole property with roads. So our vision is to have senior independent housing similar to Bethany Grace Point. Assisted living, and those usually are about 2 stories, and then we would like to develop senior memory care, which in North Dakota it's licensed as basic care, but it's an assisted living. It has to be, for memory care, it has to be licensed as basic care. We would not be doing any expansion of skilled care, so our staff parking needs would be a lot different than Bethany on University and Bethany on 42nd. So that's kind of what we envision at this time. And on the independent housing, we would have underground parking. This is all if we can afford it. So this is just vision at this point, that we might not even develop it depending on interest rates and construction costs. But at Bethany Grace Point, we have underground parking right now, and we would envision that with our independent. And we would put the taller buildings towards 45th, and of course, the lower buildings, 2-story, closer to the residential lots to the east.
Commissioners, any questions? All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
At this time, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Anybody have anything they wish to speak about on item number 4? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Commissioners?
I'll make the motion to approve per staff recommendation.
Commissioner Schmidt motions?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Rosenberg. Any discussion on the motion, commissioners? Seeing none, go ahead and take the roll.
Rosenberg.
Aye.
Holtz.
Aye.
Hess.
Aye.
Cecil.
Aye.
Shuey.
Aye.
Mose.
Aye.
Gly.
Aye.
Schmidt.
Aye.
Tassett.
Aye, motion passes. Item number 5, still with Donald. Hearing on an application requesting a plat of Estates, how do you say that?
Estes.
Estates. Sure, seems Estates addition.
Yes, thank you, ma'am. So the Estes addition includes 3 existing lots located here on 12th Avenue North and 45th Street North, or well, 43rd Street North is here. So 45th is here, 12th Avenue. 43rd and 12th. These are currently 3 separate lots that are going to get recombined into 2 lots. So pretty straightforward here. This is looking along the 12th Avenue property frontage. Here's existing buildings here. This is looking on the 43rd Street frontage. Here's the Estes Trucking Company along here. The zoning here is GI, General Industrial. No zone change is proposed. That zoning will carry through to the subdivision. And again, right now there are 3 lots here. As your staff report notes, one of the lots is in industrial subdivision number 1. 2 of the other lots are in parts of Hector's subdivision, subdivision that's been around for a long time here. And they're just recombining this, so these 2 lots, or most of these 2 lots, will become Lot 1, and this will be Lot 2. There's a slight change in the lot line here to become Lot 2. So pretty straightforward, just rearrangement of the lots. We worked with the applicants here for some time trying to just work out a neat way to do this, and the best way to do it was to plat it rather than to try to do multiple lot line adjustments. Mr. Michael Schaefer, project representative, is with us this afternoon and may wish to address the commission. The recommended motion is stated in your staff report and shown on the screen for approval of the Estes edition. Thank you, commissioners.
Thanks, Donald. Commissioners, any questions for Donald? Seeing none. Applicant? No? Let's go ahead and open up the public hearing. Anybody have anything to say on agenda number 5? Seeing none. Commissioners? Anybody want to make a motion?
To approve.
Second.
Commissioner Rosenberg, motion, second by Commissioner Hulse. Any discussion, commissioners, on the motion? Okay, let's go ahead and take the roll.
Hess,
Aye.
Mose,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Glide,
Aye.
Cecil,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Holtz,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Tosser.
Aye, motion passes.
Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you, Donald.
I'm going to trade off PowerPoints here, ma'am.
Now, on to skipping item D1, moving to item D2, Jeremy. And maybe you want to introduce yourself since we have some new commissioners up here.
All right, good afternoon, Madam Chairperson and planning commissioners. I'm Jeremy Gordon, City Fargo transportation engineer, traffic engineer. If you want to complain about a traffic light, I'll take your complaints after the meeting and I can go from there.
What if there's no light and it's just a roundabout?
Even better, even better. So thanks for having me. This has been a long time in the making, but we're here now and we're in the final throes of this plan. Special thanks to our plan review committee, a couple folks from planning, Mark, Megan and Nicole, Tom and Nathan from engineering, Ben Dow from Public Works, and Michael Maddox from COG. And we had a couple consultants involved, Kimley Horn from St. Paul and Bolton and Mink here in town. So we'll just jump right into it. The Fargo Transportation Plan, I feel it's like my life's work here at the city. It's all coming into one. It guides how we plan, design, and construct our transportation system, really in a context-sensitive manner, really throughout all areas of the city. We've really focused in and around the downtown recently, but it does go north and south in the entire city. Builds upon a robust set of planning efforts over the years, aligning our community priorities. We want to continue to emphasize improving safety, access to active transportation, and sustainable and complete streets. So the plan really is made up of these primary components. We got the foundations of our existing system, safety, complete streets and street design guidelines, and then innovation. So just jumping right into it, foundations. Many of you may sit on the MetroCog Policy Board. You probably see quite a few studies and plans come through there. We're kind of all bringing them in under one umbrella here. So the left one is Go 2030. We adopted that 12 years ago for the city, our current comp plan. Had a section on transportation. Talked about active transportation, linkages across the river, safety. The bottom left is the current long-range plan. So you may ask, why are we doing a Fargo-specific plan rather than we have a metro regional long-range plan? That's really a federal mandate. Every 5 years it has to be completed to use federal dollars on our roads and highways. Our plan really isn't looking at the last nickel on a project. It's really about design, complete streets, really how we operate. So the long-range plan, a lot of it is compatible, but that's a little bit higher level. A look at the metro. Then we have our pedestrian bike plan, safe routes to school plan. We had a study with West Fargo, a parking and access study 5 or 6 years ago. Really looked at further defining the street naming. You got your local, collector, and arterial. It really added definition to those titles. And then lastly, the Red River Greenway study. We wrapped that up a couple years ago. Really looking at the opportunities along the Red River and our drains in the south and southwest Fargo. With the big flood in 2009, we purchased a lot of lots, opened up a lot of opportunities to put paths along the river system. So actually, I think the next 5 path projects we have in town are all off street along either the river or the drains, and they really come from that study. So I'll really look at the right side of this first. So our vision and goals for this plan are safety, improve safety, complete streets, access to opportunity, connectivity, innovation, and life cycle sustainability. Really right size what we're building out there so it can be sustained for the long haul. And if you go back to the left, all the studies are in white, going up and down. And how did those hit with our major themes of our plan? Some hit pretty good, some didn't do so hot. But we're putting it all together. Just a quick little snapshot on our existing transportation system. 80% of folks drive alone, car, truck, or van. 5.7 carpool, 3.4 walk, 9.1 work from home, and we've got just a little bit, 0.7 using the bus, and 1.7 other. And then you can see the trips that come into and out of the metro, what are their lengths? Almost 90% of them are less than 10 miles. And I think the Grand Forks effect is in the more than 50 miles at the 9.1. So along the way, we decided to look at peer cities. Fargo Moorhead, we seem to be a pretty decent city transportation-wise. How do we rank to other cities pretty comparable in our size? So we looked at Bismarck, Sioux Falls, Rochester, Minnesota, Des Moines, and Fort Collins, Colorado. So there were a number of metrics to compare us. Fatality rates, walking and bike scores, travel time to work, and the mean of how you get to and from work. So we rank very well in our walk score. The one thing that is pretty remarkable about Fargo is we have a requirement to put sidewalks on both sides of every street. So our walk score historically should be off the charts because you can walk pretty much everywhere. The bike score did pretty well. We are in the top 2/3 there. And the other metrics can be found in our plan on the website. So the next foundation would be safety. We haven't looked a lot at safety over the years, but as our growth has slowed down recently, it really gives us an opportunity to look at what we've built and how we can improve things. So really the federal highway is looking at this. It's really 5 different legs of a stool, if there would be such a stool with 5 legs. Some of these are government related, some of these are private sector. So they are safe road users, that's you and I. All of us are humans behind the wheel, somehow in transportation. Safer vehicles, you think about each year, backup cameras, side cameras, all kinds of tech gadgets for your vehicle. Post-crash care, that's really a level 1 trauma center. Our health industry is improving to help folks that are getting in crashes. And then really the 2 that pertain to us are safe speeds. Really got to be smart about how we set speed limits and how we enforce them. And then safe roads, how do we design? Crashes, are going to occur. How can we make them relatively safe to occur? So next year we want to North Dakota DOT has a Vision Zero for the state. They did that 6-7 years ago. We want to become a Vision Zero city. which really gets into the marketing, advertising of safety behind the wheel and lessons learned around the state. We do have the Safe Routes to School plan that we can look at for recommendations per school site for school children, whether walking or biking, to be safer. We have our own traffic calming policy. It's probably 20 years old, looking at slowing down folks on local streets, and then the safety-centered approach, the 5-leg stool. So complete streets, street design guidelines. You've probably heard the term complete streets. What it is an approach to designing streets that work for all users. It's a process to guide decisions, and it really looks system-wide. How are we doing system-wide multimodal? It is not, we need to do this type of thing on this road. It's not that. It's not a mandate to include specific facilities on each road, and it's really not to rank modes over each other. So really what it is, it's an ongoing comprehensive planning, design, construction operations process that we really do year in and year out, aimed at improving safety, usability, and quality of life. We really want to plan and program our right-of-way that take into account and balance the needs of all street users. This graph, or this chart is I think the coolest thing that's coming out of this plan is the thing on the right side with all the colors. So we used to say, is it a local street? Is it a collector street? Is it an arterial street? Well, you know, Elm Street in theory is an arterial street. 13th Avenue is an arterial street. They're very different in how they function. So we've had definitions. So the two on the top are local streets. Is it in a commercial industrial area or a residential area? The yellow is really a mixed-use neighborhood, and that's really just Broadway downtown, very commercial and residential. And then there's two collectors. There's residential collectors that go through neighborhoods of just SR zoning, and then there's mixed-use commercial collectors that carry quite a bit more traffic. And then we got the arterials, commercial arterial and the mixed-use arterial. And really the nuts and bolts of how we design when we're going to do a project, whether a plowed field project or a reconstruction project, we look at the land use type that's around there, and we look at what the street's role is going to be there. Is it going to be local, collector, arterial? And, you know, you kind of add these things on. Is this part of the bike network? Do transit operate on the street? How does the sidewalk look? Parking needs? Do we need parking both sides, one side, no side? Is it going to be diagonal or parallel? And then you really get down to number 4. You look at additional stuff, like what's the traffic volume? Is there trucks on this road? How many lanes wide are we going to get it? Does it just need a center left? What's the right-of-way width? How much snow storage do we need on the boulevard? And what's the speed limit going to be? In the end, we get a project we can design, build, and construct, and operate for years and years. So this is really nuts and bolts of how we operate. And you guys, it is interesting. You guys were talking about the property on 45th Street up there. Driveway access and spacing. The one thing our current LDC does, and this is, I can guarantee this will be part of the new LDC that we're going to be working on in the next year and a half, is driveway access and spacing. This is in particularly looking at accesses from block corners. So the chart really started out on the right side of intersections that are on arterial streets. You know, is the arterial street a 2-lane or is it a 6-lane? What type of street is intersecting with it? Is there a signal there? Will there never be a signal there? Is there a roundabout there? How about a right in, right out? What are all these distances we can use for some uniformity as we develop? So this will definitely make it into the new LDC, and we want to approve this on an interim basis when we approve this plan over the next year or so. You probably can't see those numbers, but I've done a lot of research into this, and they're pretty consistent numbers. So lastly is the innovative design. You know, as part of this, I'm the transportation engineer. I go to conferences. I see what the nation's doing with innovative design, and I come back to our public works committee, and sometimes they say, Jeremy, what are you thinking? So I thought, well, we can put it in a plan, and at least you've seen it before. So innovative design, you know, you can look at the road, you can look at the intersection, you can look at the interchanges, and how do we interact the best we can do for peds and bikes. So the upper right is J-turn. It's on 52nd Avenue South. These are becoming very popular for state highways on higher speed roadways. So we knew on 52nd Avenue there were intersections that are never going to reach the amount of traffic for a traffic signal. Well, how can we get them to make a left-hand turn off the side street safely? So you make a right and then do a U-turn. The picture in the lower right is Main Avenue downtown here on 2nd Street. And then the one on the lower left is Main Avenue. I added a couple more here just to tease you a little bit. So this is actually the approved design for I-29 and County Road 20 or 40th Avenue North. So 3 roundabouts. And these are a couple of the options that we're looking at down on 64th Avenue South and I-29. So it's amazing. I think there's over 100 different types of intersections you can build, believe it or not. So this just gives you a flavor. We're just kind of a third of the way into what we're going to do on 64th, but this shows you what you can do. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. The plan is over 100 pages. Hopefully you've looked at it. FargoStreets.com under resources, and I can answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Jeremy. Commissioners, what are your questions for Jeremy?
This is Paul. I have a question. Actually, since I'm remote, I think there's a delay, so I hope I'm not interrupting anybody. But first of all, Jeremy, I think one of the best things that Fargo does is sidewalks. So I really commend you and everybody for the policy for having sidewalks on all streets. My question, though, is eventually this plan is going to transform into actual streets and actual places. And when that happens, is there an opportunity for public comment? Will things come to the Planning Commission, for example, if people are interested in specific designs and have specific questions?
You know, that is a good question. We have had people ask how their thoughts and ideas could come into our design. It wouldn't come to the Planning Commission, but I think we could set up something on an annual basis that the public could come and sit down with folks from planning and engineering just to get their thoughts. I think that's a good idea.
Did you have any other questions, Gly?
No, that was it. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Gly. Any other questions, commissioners?
That's easy.
No questions?
I do have one question. Actually, I was wondering about when you're looking at different, you mentioned that there's several different designs that you can choose from when you're looking at like an interchange such as over the interstate on 64th. What are some of the factors that you're figuring into selection?
Cost. No, it's cost definitely weighs in a lot.
Okay.
But the future projected traffic volumes, like you have to right size the intersection. Like a single lane roundabout probably isn't going to be able to handle the future traffic load. So it's cost, traffic projections, really, you got to look at the geotechnical aspect of it. The less fill is better. Really how it's going to function and probably be the most efficient. So and then how you can safely get pedestrians through there. But the graphic on the right side there, that's a diverging diamond. That's what's over in Moorhead. These are the new roundabout, from 25 years ago. They operate probably the best. They are probably the safest, and they're probably the cheapest. So as you travel the countryside, you're going to see more of those on the right, whether we build it or not. The federal highway is really pushing those at interchanges.
And maybe if I can, commissioners, add in a little context on what you might see in relationship to. So Jeremy, maybe you can explain on 64th Avenue, or like a federal project like this, you would have a public input process or a design process, and as part of the environmental analysis, I'm assuming. So, and you might see from the Council of Governments or from the City of Fargo, public releases about public informational meetings, as you get that kind of input And that goes to maybe Commissioner Gly's question too, is, and then in addition, the colorful map, I would agree with Jeremy that we're really excited about the roadway map. You wouldn't believe how excited we are. It's kind of first time the city's had a citywide formalized map. That's but you'll see that come into play with the growth plan and then forthcoming in the land development code. So these pieces will come together a little bit more seemingly as you'll see future work in the land development code.
Go ahead.
I've got a question on the design portion of the transportation plan. Is there any mention in there on lane widths or setting any standard for that? And I was thinking about your comment on that J turn on 52nd Avenue, and you mentioned that it's used in a lot of state highways with higher speeds. I know that speeding is a pretty big conversation in Fargo, and I used the city's GIS map to measure the lane widths on 52nd, and it at least according to that, it looked like that was 14 feet wide. So that's wider than the National DOT's interstate lane width standards. So I was just curious, are we addressing that in this transportation plan, reducing lane widths to address some of the safety and speeding concerns?
Yeah, we try to build as small as we can, honestly, moving forward. Our standard lane width is 11 feet, but we don't include the gutter pan because there's a joint always on the edge of the lane, and that can be filled with snow in the winter. So the highway interstate is 12 feet. On our arterials, we go 11, and sometimes we go down to 10. But other than the section line roads, we try to build just 2 and 3 lane roads where it makes sense. To further explain that, downtown, in the context sensitive, like if you think of 2nd Street behind you, that used to be 5 lanes before we reconstructed and put the flood wall there. It really needs to be 2 lanes right now. It used to be 5. Main Avenue was 5 lanes for a stretch. That's 3 lanes. 4th Street right out here used to be 4 lanes. It's kind of crazy how big they used to be in the 70s and 80s. But we realized just by use and time, you can realize you can get by with less. So I'm very cognizant of not overbuilding things. And even, on the south side of town where we're expanding, like 64th Avenue, east of the interstate, we don't want that to be more than what it is. We don't want to come back and take off the curbs and go to 5 lanes. We want it to be 3 lanes. It's an SR zone, MR zone area. It is going to be what it's going to be. We really want 64th to look like 40th, which are they're narrower collector streets. So I'm very aware of your comment. I appreciate it.
Jeremy, how do we deal with the annexation? So when we were talking about just this Bethany project with 43rd, how do we deal with saying 43rd is going to go all the way down to 64th, but there's 2 parcels that weren't annexed, and can we make that happen?
Yeah, so what we are going to get better at is the connectivity. So we know that's a Brant-owned property, that section undeveloped to the south. Every section of land should have an east-west collector and a north-south collector. So we have played with the streets in that area, and it might not be a straight shot getting down to the 64th, but it's going to get down there. And same with east and west. So you talked about, south of their property. There's going to be an avenue, I don't know, a couple hundred feet to the south that will go all the way over to 38th Street. So and then another thing we're getting much better at is on these section line roads, it has to be every 8th mile. No, we've kind of gotten burned over the years putting accesses not at the 8th mile. Like on 64th, 38th comes in a bad spot. It's not on the 8th. We're going to get that 8th mile, so you know what's going on. Everybody knows what's going on.
So we can have that, so that'll be done before the developers, so we're not fighting with landowners and developers. Correct. They'll know in advance that we're standing on this at that way so that we don't have those
Right, and
negotiated problems?
actually, the good thing in that stretch of 45th, usually there's, signals on each end of the mile, and then there could be 3 between. Well, it's laid out that there could only be 2 in between. We've actually restricted to more than an eighth, which is in our favor. But from 64th going south, we've told the developers every 8th mile, and we're pretty strict on that.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
I've got a question regarding the traffic calming application that you mentioned as kind of one of the tools in the chest. So I did look into that, and you mentioned it's about 20 years old. And I was curious, is that application going to get reviewed or rewritten to better align with this transportation plan? And I ask because there's a section in the transportation plan about innovation and maybe more cutting edge or newer traffic calming techniques that can be implemented. But when I read the current traffic calming application, there's a lot of steps that would make it more difficult to do any traffic calming, such as, I guess this is just really in the weeds, but gathering at least 50% response rate of anyone living within 300 feet of an intersection. So, I mean, we do those for our projects all the time, and we hardly get any response rates for any land use changes. So it seems almost impossible to get a 50% response rate on doing anything like that. So this is long-winded, but are we going to look at updating this to reflect our transportation plan?
It is a good idea. It is. I agree. It is old. And the biggest thing with the traffic calming policy is, there are definitely areas that you think could use it. But the folks that are going to ask for it are the ones that are essentially going to have to pay for it. So that's why we've wanted more than 50%. But it is outdated. It probably does need to be updated. And I don't get a lot of requests, honestly, for traffic calming or people talking about speeding on their local street. It's so seasonal, you could set your watch to it. As soon as winter's over, April, people get outside in April, and they call for a couple months, and then they forget about it. But there really aren't very many hot areas that are consistently problem childs. And some of that has to do with the way we've developed. We've got a lot of side yards on busier avenues or streets where really the more traffic isn't in front of their house. So some of our design has taken the need for it away, but I agree, it needs an update.
Any other questions? Curious if you've taken a look at what we've done in the growth plan, because we have those big, nodes of activity and how that correlates with, have you overlaid it at all?
No, well, not necessarily yet, but
No.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Awesome. A lot of good work here. Thank you very much. Any other questions? No? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Rosenberg is going to save all his questions for Kim now.
Okay.
Thanks, Jeremy. Oh, not Kim.
Just Mark.
Just Mark? Oh, Kim and Mark. Now we get to talk about Art's favorite, Commissioner Rosenberg's favorite topic. I'm just gonna leave that up there, just for you to look at.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. A quick update and some good news. We had a unanimous approval on our brand new growth plan with 0 protest at City Commission 2 commissions ago. Good job in all the work. We've already been implementing it in a few different scenarios where people have called us and trying to figure out what is consistent and what is not consistent. One of the confusing things is you might see a couple applications that may have not gone through because it wasn't consistent with the old growth plan, but it's consistent with the new growth plan. So we'll make sure we do a good job at clarifying those staff reports to maybe clear any muddy water on that. I'm in front of you today to talk about the land development code now. And through the growth plan process, there seemed to be some urgency on trying to start the writing of the land development code as quick as possible, and we talked about that a little bit last month. And staff put their heads together and kind of thought about, okay, what can we do to maybe expedite this? And our conclusion was really we should go ahead and amend the contract with CZB. So in front of you, you have a scope of service that we'll be hoping that you approve today that would outline what that scope of work would be for the growth plan rewrite in the next 2 years. In essence, some of the main parts of that scope of work is going to be, aligning that growth LDC to all our other policies that we have within the city of Fargo. We're going to really need to be able to look at the legal liability of this plan and how enforceable it is. But as well as that we'll be looking at rewriting the incentive policy too. So there's a whole plethora of stuff that's in this scope of service, and hopefully the things we'll be able to achieve. Interesting thing with Jeremy's last presentation is as we rewrite this land development, the LDC, a lot of the work's already done. We have this transportation study that's going to help really define accesses and identify street types. We have the parking and access study done by MetroCog that really helps us have more practical and realistic parking requirements. So it's a matter of incorporating all that work that we've done over the last decade. I have to say that this is going to sound nerdy, but rewriting an LDC is probably once a career opportunity that I am extremely excited to work on. I've been working with this code for 22 years as of about 2 weeks ago. So that being said, I'd love to answer any questions that you have, and we're recommending approval of this scope so we can go forward to the City Commission to amend the contract to start the rewriting the land development code.
Can I go now?
Our
Process is we're going to approve this and then it goes to City Commission and then sign contract. How's the process work?
Yeah, we'll approve this. We'll work on a contract that mirrors what is going to take place, and then it will go to City Commission for approval.
Okay. Well, my statement is that's awesome. I'm very happy that we're going to do it this way. I think it's the right thing to do, and I really hope the City Commission agrees with us and moves this forward as fast as we can, because I think it's crucial, especially with the south side of Fargo and all the development that's being proposed there, that we need to get out in front of it and get the LDC done so we're not backtracking between what's going on down there and what's going to happen, because once that diversion gets finalized, I think it's just going to be crazy, and we're going to have a lot of things that might be in flux, and the faster we can get this done, the better we're going to be as a community long-term, and hopefully that we can get the commissioners to approve this so we can get moving. Thanks, Mark. I really appreciate you guys deciding to do it this way. I think this is the right way to do it.
Any other questions, comments for Mark? Go ahead.
Will the advisory committee, will that kind of act like a technical committee where they're reviewing maybe proposed, specific ordinances in the LDC?
I don't necessarily think the specifics are hammered out yet, but I think it'll be very similar to the process that we did as far as the findings and identifying the stakeholders with the growth plan to be able to go through that, and we'll refine that a little bit more with the actual contract. I do know that our department finds that interaction extremely important to be able to have a successful document, and it's proofs in the pudding with a unanimous approval at the growth plan without any opposition to it. So I think the answer is yes to your question.
On that count, I'll add my thoughts on that. If there's any opportunity, as Commissioner Gunkelman and Commissioner Schneider were really involved in the growth plan updates, if we can find a way to have them continue to be involved somehow, since they were so influential in some of that as well.
Yeah, and when we go through our stakeholders list, they'll definitely be involved in them.
Any other questions?
Paul here. I have a comment actually, and it'll take a minute here to get my thoughts out. But in my view, I really also appreciate the speed with which this is happening because it's really important right now. But as I see, the new LDC really must be very different from the existing LDC because traditional zoning was actually pretty much two-dimensional. That is, drawing lines on the ground, and it didn't have much to do with what happened within those lines. But the new thinking about new urbanism and so on really sees the city as three-dimensional. And that's how people perceive the city. It's a visual place, not just lines on the ground. So I see something missing in this scope of work that I would like to add. In general, it's excellent, but what I see missing is the opportunity to really see the city as three-dimensional. And that means architectural, visual, aesthetic characteristics of the city that people see and experience. Now, give me a second here, but all of downtown Fargo, for example, is on the National Register of Historic Places. Yet the current LDC offers absolutely no protections whatsoever for anything that happens downtown. There are 5 other National Register districts in Fargo. No local code protects them from anything. Fargo itself has established 8 historic overlay districts, governed only by vague design guidelines that don't help them very much. On the other hand, new developments in the city are often governed by private covenants that address design character. Yet infill development, where the city really has a say in what things can look like, has almost no guidance about what it should be like. So my fear is that the new LDC might look like old LDC more than I think is appropriate. And so I think that the design, the aesthetic, the visual character of the city really needs to be part of the scope of the work that's presented here and not just something to figure out later. And the last thing I'll say is that we should at least keep up with what West Fargo is doing regarding the design quality of the city. Thanks.
Thank you, Commissioner Clyde.
And I don't know if maybe you want me to respond to some of that.
Sure.
If I recall correctly, this new LDC will be the 5th iteration of LDCs since the beginning of time in the city of Fargo. Granted, we've done text amendments through all those LDCs periodically over time. This will be a complete rewrite. With our, as you've seen in the zoning changes with our conditional overlays, there has been a change into more of that form base, and I do believe that we're going to probably see more of a hybrid new zoning district that accommodates exactly what Commissioner Glei is talking about, as well as being able to put the practice that we've been doing into play. With the infill properties, we have been pretty concerned about how they look and how they fit, and we've worked pretty hard at them outside what our zoning districts are right now as they've come in and asked for those amendments. So yeah, I agree. I think, in addition, the growth plan actually points us in that direction of that's what the community wants for a document in the land development code to see how the city's going to grow in the future.
Okay, well, thanks.
Questions? Any other questions, comments? Okay, thanks, Mark. If not, I will,
I'll make a motion to approve the proposed scope of work outlined in the project summary for a comprehensive land development code and incentive policy update.
say that 2 times fast.
Yeah.
Motion by Commissioner Rosenberg. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Shui. Any discussion? Commissioners? Okay, go ahead and take the roll.
Mose,
Aye.
Shuey,
Aye.
Hess,
Aye.
Rosenberg,
Aye.
Cecil,
Aye.
Glei,
Aye.
Schmidt,
Aye.
Holtz. Aye. Tossett.
Aye, motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for all your work planning. Thank you for all your work, commissioners, and we are adjourned.